Thanks for joining us on I Met Jesus. This is where we are exploring the lives of some people in Scripture who encounter Jesus Christ and they walk away changed one way or another. You can't be neutral when you encounter Christ. We hope that you learn a lot from the podcast, and we hope that it challenges you and what your encounter with Christ is like as well.
Welcome back to another edition of the Crossroads podcast. We will take you in other directions as well.
Yep.
But I think we're going to start today. I'm Kevin Hageland. We got Jason with us. We've got Wes with us. I think we're going to start with I Met Jesus, Jason Collins edition. Because you were out. Man, your wife, she really undersold. Because we skipped a week, and she goes, "Oh,
yeah,
Jason is not feeling well." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I hope he gets better."
Yeah.
And then I get to church on Sunday, and I have not followed up with everything. And then Wes, or it might have been somebody right before you, who said, obviously Jason's recovering in the hospital. And I was like, "What's that now?" And so I felt like I had missed a lot of information. So I'm glad you're here. Could you tell us how you made this journey?
Yeah, so it was really interesting. On Tuesday, I left the office. I go home.
So cold all day.
I was freezing all day long, and I thought, man, it was just cold in our office, because it is fairly cold in my office on a regular basis. It turns out I was sick. So Wednesday morning, I wake up, man, I am dying. My head is killing me. I have no energy. I'm barely able to be coherent and alert and awake. And my wife goes, "You should stay home." And normally, these guys know, I am even if I am sick, I will be here. If I have to close the office door and Lysol the room, I will come be in the office. And she's like, "You should not go to work." And I went, "Okay." And that was the end of the conversation.
So you knew it was.
And then I was mostly unconscious all day Wednesday. So Thursday morning, I wake up. I am covered in bumps and a rash. And I was like, what is going on? I didn't notice it at first. I got up, I go to the bathroom. My wife looks at me and she goes, "You are covered in stuff." And I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, this is bad. I mean, I'm bright red. I mean, bright red. If you could imagine, the newest Captain America movie, Brave New World, all this stuff, is a weak version of the.
We called it the Red Dad Hulk.
The Red Dad bod.
Oh, I like that.
And so it was real. It was real weird. But I also wasn't making a lot of sense. I had a hard time standing up. I was really struggling just getting sentences out. So we go to the ER, and when we get to the ER, they start doing normal, triage. They take my temperature. I am sky high, nearly 106-degree temperature.
Oh my gosh!
And when you get to that level, you're at the risk of organ failure, organ death.
Holy moly!
Brain, you've got all kinds of brain stuff going on. There's a lot that can go on, and none of it's good. None of it's oh, and also you can get popsicles. That's not that thing. You're just in a bad way. But also super incoherent. So they're asking me questions. I'm sitting there. I know the answer to the question, cannot articulate it outside of my face. It just will not come out. So they're looking at me. I'm covered in this rash. We've recently had measles in Dallas. So they bring in infectious disease people. No.
You want to hang
I'm
on
all
the
clear. Trust me, I'm all clear from every test you can possibly run. So they bring in infectious disease people. They start panicking because they don't know what's going on. So I get put into isolation, which is why we didn't tell people where we were, because they couldn't come visit us anyway.
Yeah.
So we're being isolated. We've got infectious disease doctors in there with us. I'm barely able to stand. It just got worse and worse and worse. And so they finally figured out. There's a lot of funny parts of the story, but they finally figure out that I had a sty on my eye that had been there for a while, and I was taking some antibiotics. I had an adverse reaction to that antibiotic.
Oh.
I'm allergic to it. It wrecked my body, like to the point where even now, like they kind of know, like I'm not 100%. Like my energy level is still pretty low.
I can tell.
Oh yeah, it's there, and they've told me it could take 2 to 3 weeks to fully recover from all of this. I'm still have some of the rash, although I'm much clearer now. You can
You're much
still
better
see.
today than you were yesterday.
Oh yeah, it's improved dramatically. But yeah, I laid in a hospital bed, moaning and groaning. At one point, I got
This is
hiccups.
my favorite part of the story. Sorry.
I don't know what it was about the treatment, but it gave me hiccups, so I couldn't sleep.
Oh.
I couldn't sleep. So
How long
for
did you have the hiccups?
4 days,
Shut up. Are you serious?
dude, it was.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was so bad.
I'm sorry. I did not anticipate that being the answer.
So I mean, for 4 days, it was just and just constant. And it was driving me.
I just love that you had to demonstrate what a hiccup was.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to help out just the listener in case you don't know.
No, you've never had the hiccups.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So yeah, it was a struggle to even get rest while I was going through that. In the process, things started to slowly improve. And eventually they let us go to recover at home. But they had run tests for everything from some sort of weird interaction with animal urine to dengue fever.
What was that one?
Dengue fever, it's like an African virus, measles. All the things, the
We're
things.
not diseased.
I'm not diseased. Like it's all came back negative. And that's how they isolated down to the fact that it was this antibiotic.
Wow. When did you get out of the hospital?
What's today?
It's Wednesday. You got it Monday
I
morning.
got up Monday morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Monday
There you
morning.
go, lead pastor back at work.
Yeah.
Tuesday morning, guys.
I did come back in Tuesday morning.
Crazy. Yeah.
So it was yeah, man, it was nuts. At one point, this is probably not good for, we could edit this out later. But at one point,
Market.
at one point, I have to go to the bathroom because I had also been constipated for multiple days.
Why are we talking about this?
So
Now I see why you want to edit it out.
but they don't trust me to go into the bathroom. So there's
Fall
just this, I'm a fall risk. And so there is this chair toilet that they just come put in the middle of the room. And I just have to sit on the chair toilet while multiple other people just face the wall while I go to the, and if you know anything about me, like these guys know what.
You don't talk to Jason in the bathroom.
Do not talk to me in a bathroom.
fair.
Anywhere
I am-
in the bathroom.
Yeah.
At
No.
the sink, nowhere.
I am a private
Yep.
bathroom guy. And so for me to go through that,
I can't believe this is on the podcast.
I didn't know how vulnerable we were being. I was trying to be
honest.
vulnerable, being
The
honest.
chair toilet.
And the chair toilet. So the way I put it because that was while my brain was still, weird. And so,
Still there.
But that's
guys.
over. Yeah.
When does that end?
so a couple of
When
days
did that
later,
begin? Years ago?
we had not addressed it, talked about it, anything. I'm laying in the hospital bed. Crystal's not laying next to me. She's sitting next to me in a chair. And I go, hey. She goes, what? And I go, I pooped right there. Just pointing to like where the chair had been. And she,
This is it. This is the end of the Crossroads podcast. Thanks for joining us for the last few months. We're done.
so yeah,
I've heard so many stories about this time in the hospital. Just so you know, I'd not heard that one.
no,
This is a hard pivot, but I'm a professional. Is it safe?
Hold on, time out. I just got a text from the next office over.
Oh no.
Please tell him to stop sharing.
Fair. I hope that's Crystal.
is
Oh, it's Crystal.
That's fair. So, in all seriousness, as we take a super hard pivot there, the way you described it, it sounds like if gone unchecked or gone much longer, like,
Oh, it could have gone real bad.
yeah, like you
I don't know
could
how
have died.
bad. I think I probably could have. I think it would have gone unconscious and probably had an ambulance involved before that happened. That
Yeah.
would be my guess.
But I mean, even if they couldn't have figured out like what was wrong with you, or,
Yeah, it was real bad.
Yep.
It was real bad. Like much worse than we kind of let on. Because to be honest, even when we were getting information, we didn't know.
Yeah.
Like we didn't know exactly what was going on for the longest time.
And it progressed super fast.
It did. It went real
It
quick.
was like a headache, and then it was all of a sudden you were in the hospital.
Yeah. So, which I mean, this doesn't normally happen to me. So this is just what it is. But back, I feel pretty good. And all that stuff seems to be like subsiding and everything's in a good place. The team here was amazing.
yeah.
And just
Wes did a great job on
Dude,
Sunday.
Wes did a great job. Wes and Zach and all the team did a great job on Saturday night at the young adult event. Like it was just they crushed it. They did a fantastic job.
Wes,
Good time.
does it kind of feel like maybe you just don't need Jason around anymore? And you'd just be fine if he just retired or
It doesn't feel
something
that way.
along those lines.
It does not feel that way.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, not that you don't feel this way on a consistent basis, but did going through like that kind of experience kind of give you some extra pause to like think about the things that we talk about, think about what really matters, think about all those kind of things.
Oh, absolutely, it does. And I mean, I had kind of multiple cathartic moments. I shared one earlier with Wes, just of like feeling like God was like kind of speaking to me in that moment. We talk about that when you're in those like deep, dark places, like God is there with you. And I always felt that, like I felt like I was with me there through that whole thing. It didn't make it more comfortable. It made it something I could endure.
Yeah.
It still hurt. I knew that, but I also knew God was present. I was kind of in like constant conversation in my brain. It's like, the Bible says pray without ceasing. And I think sometimes we think about prayer from a formal standpoint. And for me, it was just like constantly like these thoughts of like, God, I need your help. This sucks. And which I think those are like that kind of a thing. I think it's sometimes things that we are afraid to say, just to say like, this sucks. God's not afraid of our this sucks. Like sometimes you go through difficult times and it's not fun. But God is present and you can talk to him about it and you can be honest with him about what you feel because he knows what you feel anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely felt God's presence. And of course, as people were finding out, our phone was blowing up, but I literally did not have the energy to even respond to anything on phone. So at one point I had like 300 and something text messages that were unread. I keep no unread text
Mostly
messages.
about Cooper Flag or
Yeah, it was a lot of Cooper Flag. It was pretty exclusively weird.
NFL owners meetings, updates. And
Yeah, Jerry was texting me, Jerry and Steven. So it was pretty
been on the other end of that. Gotcha. Well, it's really funny. So two things. One that both of y'all said about prayer is when you said the formality of prayer, I still am at a point that if I don't have my hands kind of like this, I don't really feel like it's communicating, which is absurd.
Sure.
Like, that is silly to think that the God of the universe created everything, but my hands aren't folded, so we can't really get what my message is. And so that strikes a chord. And then
I'm gonna do the whole podcast like this today.
because then he's listening. So, and then something you said on Sunday, and I really thought about, and I was like, man, I am definitely guilty of that. If all or most of your prayers start out with "I need" or "I want," then you need to kind of reevaluate. And I'm not saying all of them, but there's definitely too many where I'm like, God, I need or I want, and need in those situations feels like a very generous use of that word.
Oh yeah, man. We tend to treat God much more like Santa Claus than the God of the universe.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, man. What an intense way to start the show. I really appreciate you sharing the story, and I want to let you know that if your wife wants to be a secret agent, I think she can do it, because I had no idea that anything was really wrong until
Sunday.
Yeah, until Sunday. Yeah, absolutely. I had no idea.
Yeah. Crystal can be covert, man. Yeah. She'd be a good poker player too. She has no idea how to play poker, but if she learned,
She can listen through walls too.
she can. She can.
That's good.
Trust me, she hears
Ready for her
you.
to walk in this room.
She can hear you anywhere.
And that's why you don't even do fictitious affairs. Put on me and
Anywhere.
Wes in previous episodes.
Anywhere, Kevin.
I love that comes up every episode.
Yep. Just want to make sure it's clear. I've never had an affair.
Thank you.
Me neither. I just want to say that for the record. All right. So are we going to, it sounds like we're going to try to maybe combine up two different things today.
Yeah, one story,
Okay.
multiple people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are we
We
gonna
all
start?
met Jesus.
Now, I know where we're going to get is Jason interrupting you as you're trying to summarize, but where are we going to start?
But listen, I'm going to tell you, I'm leaning on Wes on this one, man.
Yeah, this is gonna be a shorter one, I promise.
I don't feel like that's going to be the case.
Me neither.
All right.
Luke chapter 8 is where we're going to be. So Jesus is just in this place of, he's done several miracles. There's this moment where like he calms a storm and the wind and waves obey Jesus. And then there's and I'm sure at some point we will do the story that happens right before this where Jesus drives out demons, and then he is coming back, and it starts this way. When Jesus returned, the crowd welcomed him, for they were all expecting him. And just then, a man named Jairus came. He was the leader of the synagogue. He fell down at Jesus' feet and pleaded with him to come to his house, because he had an only daughter, about 12 years old, and she was dying. We're going to stop there just for a minute. So the way I want to kind of walk through this is there's going to be several people in this story that encounter Jesus, but I think this is different. One, because it's in Luke. So we've talked about this before. Luke's going to have a lot of detail. There's going to be a lot of information, but there's so many of the details of this story that I think communicate so much to us about who Jesus is and who these people are. So we'll do a couple verses at a time as we walk through, and then if you have questions, and Jason will definitely have commentary. So
True. But just for people following along at home, we did start at Luke 8:40.
40,
correct?
sorry,
Okay.
yes, I
Yep.
missed that.
Gotcha.
So Jesus walking, there's a crowd there, which we'll talk about more in a minute. And then there's a guy named Jairus. And it says he was a leader of the synagogue. So super important to know in this story that Jairus is not an unknown guy. So like in some of the other stories we've talked about, like there's this woman at the well, or there's a woman committing adultery, or there's this random family. Like Jairus is a well-known person in their community. He's the leader of the synagogue. He's a religious leader. People look up to him. More than likely, he's a high character guy. He's supposed to be kind of the strength of their community. And he's reached a point of desperation.
Yeah, I think it's important to note too, like sometimes we've talked a lot about context. Sometimes the important part of the context is like, where does this land in the timeline of Jesus? So this is early in Jesus' ministry, and that part matters here, and it's going to come back to play by the end of the story. But if you follow kind of the life of Jesus and how things play out, early on, super popular.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to come get a piece of him. Everybody is following. It's like this kind of like amazing sideshow that has happened, and everybody wants to see what's coming next. Right. And so there's this crowd that is following, because this later on, that's not going to be the case. Like he's going to give some messages that the crowd's actually going to thin out a lot. And he's going to give some crowd thinning messages where even some of the disciples, the people that say like, we're going to follow you, are going to go like, yeah, I don't know. That's too extreme. But at this moment, he has come onto the scene. He's launched his earthly ministry. Incredible, miraculous things are happening, and there's a huge crowd of people. So everybody's all Team Jesus right here. Like they're very excited about what is he going to do next. The problem is that the crowd is not there to get to know Jesus. They're there to see his next trick.
Okay.
So it's not
Now
this.
his next trick is going to involve somebody they know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to make a huge impact. But it's the difference that we see all the time in our world of like, are you coming to Jesus for Jesus, or are you coming to Jesus for his stuff? Like, a lot of people come into the faith this way, where they don't come into the faith to get to know Jesus. Like, the ultimate victory of our life is to get to know Christ. But a lot of people miss that, and they think that the ultimate victory is to get heaven. It's to get paradise. No, the ultimate victory is to get to be with Jesus. The other stuff is the added benefit. And we get it backwards. They got it backwards. And that's what the crowd's doing.
Interesting.
Yeah, so Jairus is the leader of the synagogue, and the way we were talking about this earlier, but this is the guy that is not supposed to have an end of the rope.
No.
Right? This is the guy that's closest to God. This is the person that they are looking for spiritual direction, and they see something that I would probably believe they had never seen before, where Jairus runs in and he falls down at Jesus' feet and pleads with him to come to his house.
Yeah.
I'm just
Other
reminded-
people have gone to this guy for
Yeah.
spiritual help and direction and counsel. To see him going, I don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
But desperation is a powerful place.
Yes, going to be a huge theme in this story. But I think what you see here is like, this is a guy, like there's something that the crowd sees here, because most of the, to your point, they had all come to Jairus and had this moment of desperation. And they're going, that's the guy we look to for help. And now
Yep.
he is helpless.
Yep.
And it tells us why he's helpless. His daughter, he has one daughter, and she's about 12 years old, and she's dying. And then it says, while he was going, the crowds were nearly crushing him. And then there's this weird moment in the story, because what you anticipate here is we're going to continue with the narrative of Jairus,
Yep.
and something changes.
Is this the Who Touched Me?
Yes,
Yep.
this is what's happening. So, a woman suffering from bleeding for 12 years, who had spent all she had on doctors and yet could not be healed by any, approached from behind and touched the end of his robe. Instantly, her bleeding stopped. Who touched me? Jesus asked. When they all denied it, Peter said, Master, the crowds are hemming you in and pressing against you. Someone did touch me, said Jesus. I know that the power has gone from me. And when the woman saw that she was discovered, she came trembling and fell down. Sorry, I lost my place. Before him, in the presence of all the people, she declared the reason she had touched him and how she was instantly healed. Daughter, he said to her, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. We're going to stop there right now because there's a whole interaction here, and we'll get back to Jairus in a minute.
Yeah.
For you guys, what did you see in here? Kevin, you always have great questions.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I anticipate you have a question here.
so one of the things that I had to immediately recalibrate in my head is, you read in like your voice, even though they're not your words.
Yeah.
And so when I read Who Touched Me, I thought about it from I'm turning around, I might be upset or confrontational or something like that. Hopefully not, but I'm not going to pretend like that's never happened.
Sure.
And so I had to take a step back, reread it, and immediately reframe it from Jesus's point of view. Obviously, that is not how he would have attacked that situation.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And it also, I'm sure he knew the answer, but it felt like one of those rare times where he asked a question that he wasn't just asking to help you feel better about your participation in the conversation,
Yeah. Well, he's giving her the opportunity.
to admit it. Yeah.
Right. Like this is her story. It's her testimony. Let's let her faith kind of be the thing that shines here. And so instead of being the one to call her out, he calls out what he knows has happened and is providing this incredible opportunity for her to now step into her faith and to see something special happen.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know who this woman is. Now, we obviously don't know exactly who she is, but we know she has an issue. She has the way people have said it in culture, the woman with the issue of bleeding. But
Right.
I think the point here is this woman has a problem that won't go away.
Yep.
And it's a problem that...
You can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Everybody,
absolutely.
right?
Anybody got a problem that won't go away? Like there's things that jump to our mind immediately. And this problem would have made her an outcast of society. So she would have been considered ceremonially uncleaned. So she's not allowed to be out during the daytime. She's an outcast of culture. She's not supposed to be in this story.
Yeah. I mean, according to Levitical law, and not to get too weird and gross here, more than likely
already
her.
passed that.
Yeah, that's true. I've probably passed that with the poop story.
Thank you for going back to that.
But when you think about this, I mean, more than likely, I mean, Wes and I didn't talk through this. More than likely, this is some sort of feminine like situation, like
Okay.
that is going on in this. Now, in a Levitical law, during like that time of the month, women were went outside the town
You have to go outside
because bleeding was considered an uncleanness, and so they went outside the town. They went through a process of purification as they came back into town in order to be cleaned. And so she's come in. She is unclean. She's unclean in this very kind of in this way that would be uncomfortable socially for sure, but in any other context, like it's just a negative connotation, and so yeah, it's deeper than just I'm bleeding. It's like my finger's cut and it won't heal. There's so much more that's going on here, and it probably indicates not just how she's viewed as in their culture, but it probably indicates other health issues that are going on inside of her, and she needs help, but no one's interested in helping. They're interested in keeping her outside.
Yeah, like that's her whole life experience. But what she knows now, you're going to see in the text, is she has heard about Jesus. Now, she hasn't seen him on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, but word has traveled fast.
Crowds are forming.
Yeah.
People are talking.
People are talking. She knows, she actually believes that Jesus can heal her. But the reason I think she knows that, it says that the idea of it is she says she's exhausted all her options. It says, trying to find it, here you go. She had spent all she had on doctors and could not be healed by any. And it just reminded me of like how often, especially like I help oversee care ministry here, and you just run into people all through the Christian life that exhaust all their options.
Yep.
They have tried everything.
Yeah.
And for her, she has tried everything to get to healing. Yep. And she's at this place, to use the word desperation again, of utter desperation. But when she hears about Jesus, she's convinced that he can change her.
I think the way I would maybe say that is tried everything within her power.
Yeah.
Because what happens, we see this all the time. I mean, in our own lives, I mean, we're guilty of it. When I have a headache, the first thing that I run to is Tylenol. Okay, I'll never forget, as long as I live, being the first time I was ever in Africa, and when we were there, one of our team members got a really bad headache. It was a very humbling thing to look around and realize that our team members that came from the U.S. we were all digging through backpacks trying to find pills, and the tribal people there who do not have access to pills all began to pray over the person. You go to what you have. When you don't have that stuff, then that's not what you go to. So for her, she's exhausted these things, but we see this in our life. We see it all the time. We see people that go, I'm trying to save my marriage. I've done everything I can do. I'm trying to take care of my kid who's gone kind of wayward and rebellious, and I've done everything that I can do. I'm trying to kick my addiction, but it keeps kicking my butt over and over. And every time I think I've got it and I've got it pinned down and I haven't had an issue with it for 5 days, boom, it come back at me and hits me out of nowhere. And so it's just this recurring problem that everything that I've tried by my power has come up short. And the problem is the same solution today as it was then, is that she's still trying to do what she can do to accomplish this and to fix this problem.
Do you think, and the reason why this popped into my head is because when you were talking about the headache, for example, do you think people ever think my problem is too little to bother God with this? Now, it doesn't have to be about a headache, but you get my idea.
No, people have literally said that to me.
Yeah, God doesn't care about this. And like that's the cool thing about our God is he does. Yeah. Like he is this is a theology thing. So if you're reading your Bible in the Old Testament, there's often times where there's two words that are put together, Lord God. And in the Old Testament, it'll say capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D, and then God. So the capital Lord is the personal nature of God, which is it's the personal name of God, Yahweh.
Yeah.
That God is close, that He is near to us, that He is accessible. And then God is the Hebrew word Elohim, which is it's the bigness of God. And I love in the Old Testament that almost every time He's referenced, it's the Lord God, because it's a reminder that our God cares about the big things. I mean, He spoke the sun into existence.
Yep.
Like He's incredible, but also that He's Lord, that He is personal in nature and He's close to us.
Yeah.
So I think that would be my response to somebody that said, like, God doesn't care about this thing. I would say it's in His character and in His nature that he does, but also because of His character, He has to. It's who He is. Like, He cares.
The very nature of God is to care about the small things.
Yep.
Like, our God is not distant. Every other monotheistic religion, God stays separate from His creation. But in Christianity, our God comes and walks among His creation and shares in our experience and walks through things and helps minister to these things. I mean, you think about dealing with a woman with an issue of bleeding, or dealing with a guy with an issue of, having an antibiotic that I'm having an adverse reaction to. Does the God of the universe need to care about that?
Yeah.
In most monotheistic religions, the answer is no. But our God does need to. But it's not need to because He has to do it. It's need to because that's who He is.
Yep.
Like, He's that caring of a God.
Yes, absolutely. And what you see is this woman knows that, but then there's an obstacle, and it's kind of implicit in the text. It's not explicitly there, but there's still some stuff that's in her head, because it says that she approached Him from behind.
Yep.
Which, now, she is
Trying to sneak some power.
Yes, but the truth is, to get to the point that she's at now, she's already done incredible steps of faith to be in the crowd and be in public, but there's still some sort of shame, some fear. But what I love about the story is that she pushes through to it. And I think I see this a lot in counseling, is I think sometimes we're really close. We're much closer to a miracle than we think we are.
Yes.
Like, for her, the thing that, she's got fear and shame, but she's going to push through that and make a decision to go, I'm going to get to Jesus.
Yeah.
And then it's going to say He healed her immediately.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a really cool lesson for us that, like, she has no idea what it's going to be like when she grabs the hem of Jesus' garment.
Yeah.
But He's going, healing for you is right here. It's close.
What if you knew that the breakthrough that you have longed for in your life
for 12 years.
Yes, for whatever your thing is just a few more feet of faithfulness away.
Yep.
And then I was going to say, I felt like immediately after that, she overcame her shame again when He's like, I know it was somebody here. Please tell me. And she was like, okay, it was me.
Yeah. So this part of the story is a little bit funny to me.
Peter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jesus is going to say, who touched me? And you have to remember that it says the crowds were nearly crushing Him.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of, like, this is such a weird comparison, but like when you've been have you been to Disney World, or like when you enter Disney World, it just feels like you're just consumed with people. And it would be like me turning and going, Caitlin, who touched me?
Yeah.
And her response is, idiot.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happens here is Jesus says, who touched me? And Peter's like,
You think Peter is calling Jesus an idiot right here?
I do a little bit. He does call Him master, which maybe that's probably what He actually called Him.
Yeah.
Where he feels exasperated with him. He's like, bro, I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't you know? Aren't you here too? Like, don't you see what's
Look
happening here?
around. Take in the moment.
And then I want to say Jesus, like, sarcastically says this, but for some reason it's probably just His love for Peter. He's like, man, someone did touch me. And then this sentence, which sounds like a superhero movie.
I love this sentence.
I know the power has gone out from me. It's like Jesus is walking around like oozing power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
He is.
yes, but it's really interesting because his power goes out to one person,
Yep.
but tons of people have touched Him in this story. And like that's the huge difference here is like lots of people encounter Jesus. Lots of people are even physically bumping into Jesus here. They don't experience healing, but the one person that has faith to believe that Jesus can heal them is the one that gets healing here. Right?
As I think everybody else is approaching, going like, I want the next magic trick. I want the next cool experience. But she's approaching, she legitimately believes that the power is in who he is. She doesn't just want to be healed. She wants to be close to him. She believes the power is in him. And so it's such a different approach, but Jesus knows, like he knows there's a difference in how she's approaching me than how everybody else is approaching me.
It sounds similar to what you said earlier about the goal, the ultimate thing that you get is get to know Jesus, not to get to heaven. And she was trying to do that.
Yeah, it says that she declared the reason that she came to him. She declared the reason she had touched him and how she was instantly healed. And that's the moment where he says, daughter, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Which is it's a cool interaction because we see that in like so many of these stories. But I don't know, what struck me just now is like we just spent a lot of time talking about this interaction. And like, don't forget the context of what's happening.
Yep.
Jairus
is just standing
there.
Oh yeah.
While his daughter,
I did kind of forget that.
His daughter is dying. And I do think, and I didn't do enough research here to even intelligently articulate what I'm about to try to articulate. There is a symmetry here to what's happening, that Jairus' daughter is 12 years old and her issue has been 12 years long. Mm-hmm. Like and I don't know exactly what it is, but just to be reminded that like this woman has suffered as long as this little girl has been alive.
Yes.
And Jesus sees that, and he sees her struggle, and it's just incredible compassion on two people. Jairus, one of the most well-known people in the city, and somebody that is not allowed to be in the city.
Yeah. But it just gives such a picture of Jesus is dealing with priorities in a very different way than what we do. Because if this is just at a hospital, it's bad triage.
Yeah.
Like if you go, one person is dying and this lady, she's bleeding, I'll give you that. But it's gone on for 12 years. She'll probably be okay for a little while longer. You go, well, let's put her on pause.
Yeah.
Let's go deal with the dying child. Instead, Jesus stops and deals with the lady because his ability to understand what he can do and what could happen next and the glory and the miracle that is going to be laid out in front of them is very different than going to triage at an ER. Like he knows what he's doing and he has a different set of priorities. He's taken an opportunity to take her faith, a faith that all these other people that are around him for whatever cool stuff, like just the cool, like he's a piñata, like the cool
cosmic
stuff.
vending machine.
Yes, he is. Exactly. That's a great phrase. So like he's this cosmic vending machine. Let's poke him and prod him and let's see what comes out so that I can get my stuff. And she shows up filled with faith. And Jesus is going, no, I need the crowd to see faith. Mm-hmm. It's not about a medical diagnosis. I need them to see what faith looks like. And I need them to see what happens when you live in faith.
Yes. And I think because of how he stops, it teaches us something about how we view interruptions. Now there's just a fact about me. Everybody that works with me here knows this. I hate being interrupted. I love people and I love a relationship, but when I am on a task, interruptions is like my pet peeve. Okay. So I said this to the young adults. I pointed at Parker, but he's not on the screen. I said this to young adults last Thursday, like my least and favorite phrase in the office is the same. And it's like, hey, do you have 5 minutes? Because it's always unexpected.
Yeah,
like it's just it's always an interruption. But I think the challenge, like Jesus, to your point, Jason, like he sees this interruption as an opportunity to show something greater. Yeah. He's going, yes, I can show them how much power I have by raising Jairus' daughter from the dead. Spoiler alert. Or I can stop here and show them what true faith would actually do for their life. Yeah. And I think it's a lesson for us that like God has a mission for our life. But I think sometimes when we say that, we view it as like this uninterrupted mission where God is going to have me on the straight and narrow. This is exactly what you want me to do. And I think God's path looks way more like interruptions, way more like people that desperately need words of encouragement or the character of Jesus, and he brings those people into our life every day, all day, and we have a choice. Do we see them as an interruption to whatever I'm doing, whatever I think my mission is, or as an opportunity to minister to them and show them just to love and share the message of Jesus?
Yeah, how do you process the unexpected things that happen in your day-to-day? Because every single day we're hit with the unexpected. Things that we did not have on our schedule, they weren't on our agenda, they weren't on our time frame, or they weren't on our clock. And yet the truth is, while they were not on my schedule, they were on God's schedule for me. While they were not on my agenda, they were on God's agenda for me. And so the question is not just can I see it as an opportunity, but to recognize that when I don't see it as an opportunity, I'm not simply rejecting the opportunity, I'm rejecting the agenda of God that he has placed in my life for that moment. And I don't need to reject the agenda of God. I need to go, this is unexpected, but unexpected throughout Scripture is opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And ultimately, if we think about the greatest moments of our life, most of them come when the unexpected happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what you see here is like you're going to see like this incredible moment of faith, and then verse 49 is probably the most forgettable verse in this story, but it's actually a really weird contrast of a lack of faith versus the woman's faith here. While Jesus was still speaking, so like there's this thing that's happening with this woman. Someone, and this is very kind of Luke to not say who it is, someone came from the synagogue's leader's house and said, your daughter is dead. Don't bother the teacher anymore.
Because on the other side of the story, right, you're bookending the story. Jairus' story is bookending this woman's. If you go back to verse 42, what it talks about her, it says she's 12 years old and she was dying.
Yep,
so
she's not dead.
This before death, and now that these next few moments had panned out, now she's dead.
Yeah, and I think the phrase here that just struck me, it's kind of your question earlier, Kevin, like, don't bother the teacher anymore. Like, God is not bothered by our life.
Yeah.
He gave us our life.
Yeah.
He's not surprised by our life. He's not bothered. And that's where you go, like, whoever this person is doesn't know Jesus yet.
And whatever hope Jairus had is gone.
Do you think that's, in the context of the time, do you think that is a fair way to feel, even momentarily? Because you're like,
100%.
okay. Because I didn't want to.
Absolutely.
I didn't want to make it like, Jairus is a fool. He should have just known. Like, I can see how in the moment your daughter is dead.
No, I don't think expecting resurrection is what's on the table for him.
Yeah.
It's what he's going to get to receive, but it makes sense that in this moment, like at one point he's at the end of his rope, but he's hopeful. He feels like he's got somebody.
One more place to go.
Right, I got another place to go. This is, we're doing a podcast called I Met Jesus. Like he's like, I met this guy. I think he can help.
Yeah.
We'll get him to her. Everything will be okay. But then when they interrupt after the story of the woman, she's gone. And yeah, I think he is. I think hope is gone for a moment. But I think that's a key thing because you said, can that happen? And I would say, I think it happens in every one of our lives.
Yeah.
The question is, do you stay living in the hopelessness?
It kind of goes back to I believe it was the Easter service with the two-sided boards.
Yeah, the cardboard
It
testimony.
kind of felt like, here's my hopelessness, or here's my moment of hopelessness, or whatever, and here's the other side.
All right.
It's the fun part, guys. When Jesus heard this, he answered him, don't be afraid, only believe and she will be saved. After he came to the house, he let no one enter with him except Peter, James, and John, and the child's father and mother. Everyone was crying and mourning for her, but he said, stop crying, because she is not dead, but asleep. They laughed at him because they knew she was dead. So he took her by the hand and called out, child, get up. Her spirit returned, and she got up at once. Then he gave orders that she be given something to eat. Her parents were astounded, but he instructed them to tell no one what happened.
Just real quick, that's a little funny, right?
It's
like,
funny,
okay, she's alive again. Hey, go get her some Wendy's. Or whatever.
Guys, all she needed was some Pop-Tarts.
Yeah. Like that is humorous to me.
Reminds me, if I can just talk about your situation
Okay.
a little bit
Yeah.
for the last week. So Crystal and I were at a meeting last Wednesday night, and you went to the hospital on Thursday, and we had ordered some food for the team, and we were talking, and she goes, I'm going to order Jason a lot of food because I really think what he needs is just to eat. I think she ordered the whole McAllister's menu.
Yeah, she brought it all home and set it next to me on a nightstand. I never touched it.
Here's your medicine.
Sorry,
yeah,
yes.
that'll fix you.
What it reminded me
roast
of.
beef. That'll fix you. Yeah.
Sorry, food is Anyway,
Food's wonderful. I'm a big fan.
food is great. I'm too big of a fan.
Cosine. Double cosine.
So I think what's important here, we learned something about Jesus because you're going to see this throughout his ministry. When he goes into the house, he takes a couple of guys with him. So Kevin, I don't know if you know this. There's lots of study on like all these groups of people that follow Jesus. So there's the crowd, which we've seen here.
Yeah.
Then there's kind of a group of about 80 that you'll see later in Jesus' ministry. That's kind of a smaller group of people. It's 80 people that follow him. And then there's the 12, which people talk about a lot, 12 disciples. Yep. And then there's really 3. And it's the inner circle. And this is where I think there's like a reality to life that we even see with the life of Jesus.
Yeah.
Is that in our life there are really close people. Then there's less close. But I think what you see here is Jesus is going to go, this is a moment for the people that are the closest to me. This is a huge moment in the life of Jesus. There's a lot of emotion. I mean, you can imagine that what this house seems like. And he's going, I'm going to bring my closest people for this moment. And it's an important lesson in community. Also, like we can't be he didn't bring the crowd into the house. Like not everybody gets to be in the most impactful moments of your life. And Jesus models that here for us. But it's kind of an incredible story. Since you have a question.
Yeah, I this is just my own clarification's sake. Are those the people that are laughing at him then? Or are those just other people that were still in the house?
So it says Peter, James, John, and the parents are the only people in the room.
Yeah.
So that does seem to be the people that are laughing.
That seems like that feels like an
and
odd
they're
reaction.
crying.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean,
I don't know either.
that.
I'd have to look it up. But
Yeah, I mean, that's not how I particularly read it. I know that that's kind of how this goes, but I have a feeling it was the mourners and the people that were already there.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it just makes more sense to me because it says that they knew she was already dead. Well, these other guys just arrived.
Well, and it says, do not let anyone go in with him. So that doesn't discount that there were already
People inside, yeah.
And, that's
and
why
we
I
know
was
one guy that he already knew she was dead because he declared it in the middle of the crowd. So
Yeah.
there's a good chance it's him also. He's a part of
Okay.
this group of people.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think laughed here is not like, oh, Jesus told a hilarious joke. I think it's like mockery.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's them going, this is ridiculous.
And that's why I wanted clarification about who it was, because that feels out of character for the parents and the other 3 that are with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think, and I know we joked about the food thing, but it is something so interesting just that Jesus does this miracle, but then immediately thinks about the physical need that is going to exist for this little girl. So much of this particular story, to me, what you see a picture of is such a caring God.
Yep.
That from start to finish, he operates on a different set of priority. He operates in a different timeline. He doesn't let the hopeless stay hopeless. And he finds even the most practical thing that is needed and goes, let's get this little girl some food. And it's to me, those details matter so much to think. It's just such a nurturing thing, right? When you just think of like a parent, an adult going, like, I mean, you got kids, and to go like, or you got little Wyatt and Wyatt's throwing a fit, and you go, man, what does he need? He just needs something to eat. Yep. And as a parent, you go, man, I get that need. And Jesus is the God of the universe, but he's like, I get this need. Yep. And I care about it. It matters to me.
Yeah, and I think that I I've mentioned young adults a couple of times. One is because this is the text I talked about last Thursday at young adults, but I think that was so much the challenge I was given to the young adults at our church is like, there's all these verses that say that we're going to be conformed into the image of Christ and we're supposed to be like Christ. So this level of care, this level of being compassionate, this level of going, I see physical needs, I am willing to be interrupted to meet people's needs, is who we are called to be. Like Jesus is modeling what it's like you know, the way you could say this, like Jesus is the perfect man. Like he's modeling how we should live. So when I see this story, like it's so convicting to me. I was telling Jason this because there's clearly a truth here that Jesus cares about everybody. Like he cares about children.
Yep.
He shows with the food.
Yep.
He's going to care about the religious leader Jairus. He's going to care about this woman with the issue of bleeding. Even the interaction with the guy that doesn't believe in him. He's like, wait a second.
Yep.
Like you don't know. Like there's all this care. And for me in my life, I'm setting myself up for utter failure. What's about to happen? I mean, there are categories of people that I don't care about. Like when I think about like when you watch the news or when you
Who are these people? Give us some categories.
mainly
of
Duke
people.
fans.
Duke.
But other than that, just kidding, Kevin.
So hurtful.
So, but you know what I'm saying? Like we have people that we have totally written off.
Yeah.
And in this one story, Jesus is going to go.
Yeah,
"Man, I
because
care
they have
about
different
everybody."
political ideology, or they, you know, that they view sex and identity different, and all those things. And whether I agree or disagree is not the question. The question is, have I written them off?
Yeah. And do I care about them?
Yes.
This level of care about them.
I may not be called to agree with all of their decisions. I am called to care about them regardless.
And it kind of, to piggyback on that, it really sounds like he's kind of speaking to the idea we have of what's too late. You know, like y'all talked about it. There are people who are like, oh, I already got a divorce or had an affair, or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So it's too late for me. And
Right.
like even here, even in death, he's like,
Yeah.
don't worry. We're on my timeline.
Yeah, it's not over yet.
It's not too late, which is a message that I've needed to hear. I'm sure a lot of people have needed to hear.
Yeah, and then he does this phrase, and this is kind of like wrapping back up to what Jason was talking about. Go ahead.
Just to make sure we close the loop on that. Like whatever the thing is, what's killing you? Okay, what's killing you in this moment isn't done unless Jesus says it's done. Even when you think the thing that's killing you has killed you. Yeah. Jesus does his best work with dead things. Like he resurrects from the dead, from the grave. And so it's so important to not miss that. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. No, it reminds me of a song that you were talking about. I'd have to pull up the lyrics to be specific, but when it first came out, I was not a fan. But I've reread some of the lyrics of it, and just it's the song "Too Good to Not Believe," and it's just a reminder that like God, he is in so many good things that like even for this woman, like this is why she's approaching Jesus. This is why Jairus approaches Jesus, is because he's done so much good.
Yeah.
I think that's originally
good
a
to not
C.S. Lewis argument where people will go, Jesus is it's too good to believe in. And he flips it and basically says, no, it's too good not to believe in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So the end of this wraps up in a weird way. So think about this moment. Just think about the perspective of this little girl's parents, Jairus and his wife. They have reached utter desperation. Everyone, the whole crowd knows that his daughter is dying. And then this weird interruption happens. Jesus, Peter, James, John show up in their house. Their daughter's dead. Jesus, with 3 simple words, child get up, raises this girl from the dead, and then gets her a sandwich. And then he looks at him and says, don't tell anybody.
What do you think about that, Kevin?
So there's 2 things, and actually, I think, Jason, if this was you, I apologize. I think this was in one of Wes's sermons going a little bit back, when the devil would consistently talk about, look how powerful I am, or check out my power. And God is just like, that's fine. Like, I'm just going to do the thing. Like, I don't need,
right.
I don't need to announce it to you.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things I thought is he was like, there's no need for it to spread. And then the other thing I do kind of wonder is to avoid people who, you use the sideshow analogy, who are just there to be like, you can fix this, as opposed to, I wanted to meet you, here is my faith. And he's like, I can help you.
Right.
You know, like, he doesn't just want people to be like, that's the guy that raises people from the dead, let's go get him.
Yeah. Wes?
I would say that that's true in this moment in time, because eventually Jesus does want everybody to know that he raises people from the dead.
Yep.
But there's to Jason's point earlier, and you can talk more about it if you want, but just this is early in Jesus' ministry. And what you see is there's a progression in Jesus' ministry to slowly reveal who he is. Like you'll see he has interaction at, like his first miracle is the wedding at Cana. And it's this great interaction with Jesus and his mom. But he does say in that moment, it's not time yet to reveal this.
Yep.
And Mary's like, do it anyway. But like there's these moments where he consistently says, not yet, not yet, not yet. But there is a moment where he's gonna be revealed as the Messiah. But early on with the disciples, you see that over and over. And even in the next chapter, he's gonna feed 5,000 people. So word's gonna get out pretty quick.
My question then, why not? I'm hoping you guys can walk me through this. Why not yet? Is it because he still wants people to come to it on their own without like being spoon fed that here's the deal?
I think we live in a world of modern Western Christianity where we think the ultimate end goal of all things in the spiritual world is to have the largest group gathered to hear from one person at a time. We love to pack conference centers and arenas and church buildings, and we do it here. Like, there's nothing. I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with it. We want to get the gospel to as many people as possible, but that's not the only model of the gospel. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and say it's not the most effective model of the gospel. There is a moment in Jesus' ministry where I think he's modeling something so profound and important to us that the personal is more important than the public.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's this personal moment that he's going to have with Jairus' daughter and his family. It's this personal moment he's going to have with this woman. He's not trying to, like in our world, you want to brand it and monetize it, right? Hey, let's get that viral. Let's get as many people to see it as possible. He just wanted the one interaction. He just wanted the one person to know that they mattered.
Yeah.
And there's going to be time, he knows this, there's time for it to go public. He's going to go public. It's going to go pretty quick, but he's not ready for it to go public yet. I think we so often miss the significance in private moments because we're looking for the spectacle in public places. And we miss that. We want the like what feels like these supernatural moments of bigness, and we miss the unbelievable supernatural of smallness. Like if you were to think about this from an economy of God's power, you would go, well, the best use of that power is in a massive group. And I go, is it? Or is the best use one-on-one where that power is laser focused on one person and one person's need at a time?
Yep.
What we've seen historically is that the church has not grown most in large gatherings. The church has grown most in private interactions of people experiencing Jesus. People that met Jesus, just like we're talking about, shared with the next person that met Jesus. And so I just think that we sometimes, and he's giving us a picture of the significance of the private. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I think there's so much power in that, just in where this happens, because you would almost expect this to happen in the synagogue. Like Jairus is the leader of the synagogue.
Yeah.
So Jesus doesn't go, bring her to the church building. He says, let me come to your living room. And as you were talking, I was just like reminded that like God can do so much in your home.
Yeah.
God can do the miraculous. He wants to do the miraculous in your home. Like he's not looking for a show. He's not looking for you to even look for a show. He's just going, let me impact your family. This family is, because what's incredible is eventually, So they're not supposed to tell anybody. But let's say there's 1,000 people outside that knew where he was headed.
Yep.
And then this little girl walks out of the house. Like, they don't have to tell anybody.
The message will take care of itself.
Yes, it's going to take care of itself. But because of Jairus' influence in their community and the transformation they're going to see in his home, people are going to come to know Jesus because of this. And it wasn't a church service, and it wasn't this big spectacle. It was God going, I care enough about you that I'm going to come into your home.
Globally, more people have come to Christ across couches and dining tables and coffee tables than they have in church chairs.
Yep.
Oh, I'd never considered it from that perspective.
It's a huge percentage.
Yeah, it's like 85%.
Yeah. Personal conversation.
Wow.
So.
Well, I think that was an excellent breakdown. Thank you again very much for sharing
Yeah.
your real life story about
right,
everything that was happening. And barring more medical complications, we'll be back next week.
So, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
I'll be back next week.
oh,
Yep.
Jason's out.
Jason's out next
We
week.
need to get somebody else to step in. I'm on vacation
We've
next
got it.
week.
We have a plan.
Oh, okay. Who's stepping in?
I don't know.
Uh-oh.
But Crystal has a plan.
There's a plan
So
coming.
there's a plan. I'd love to know who it is. But I do know next week we're talking about another story of healing. So it'll be super fun.
All right. Be back next week for what will surely be our best episode yet
Oh, yeah.
on
Lord have
the
Only getting better.
on the
Only getting
Crossroads
better.
podcast. See you guys.